So at the beginning of this series, I told you that money isn't a linear progression, but a repetitive cycle that has just different context and timelines. I have two stories to tell you. London in the late 1600s, where there's no stock exchange, no Bloomberg, no banks you'd recognize, just mud, ships, and rumors. London is loud, filthy, alive. Ships are coming from everywhere though. Jamaica, Lisbon, Bombay, loaded with sugar, spices, silk, and tea. Some of them don't even arrive because of storms, pirates, and other things. But there's a coffee house near the docks. Not a fancy coffee house though. Smoky and crowded, and a man sits in the corner. He's not a lord, he's not a banker, he's not rich, but he's super observant. He listens every day, the same questions. Did the ship from Barbados arrive? Was it insured? Who backed it? What were the odds? Most people just argue, but this man starts writing things down. He takes a chalkboard and begins noting ship names, departure dates, cargo types, owners, routes, and whether the ships arrived or they simply just vanished. Then something subtle happens. People stop arguing about opinions, they start looking at the board, and patterns start to emerge. Ships to certain routes fail more, winter voyages cost more, sugar ships are safer than spice ships, experienced captains matter without realizing it. The man has done something radical. Merchants begin asking, what would you charge to cover this ship? What if I split the risk? What if 5 of us share the loss? Eventually, the place formalizes. Rules appear, ledgers, underwriters, and standards and procedures. That messy coffee house becomes the Lloyd's of London, still operating today. Let's skip to the 12th century. Thousands of pilgrims moved from Europe to the Holy Land of Jerusalem, a journey that often took months. You had bandits that understood the route, and most often, pilgrims carried their life savings in physical gold. Death and robbery on these routes were brutal, but most often, the travel towards the Holy Land was mandatory, so this didn't matter much. But a small group called the Knights Templar emerged, literally a group of monks that vowed to live in poverty. You went to the temple of monks, gave your gold in, and they issued you a coded document, which meant that the pilgrim could travel without gold. Months later, when they arrived in Jerusalem, they met another group of monks they gave this coded document into, and they'd released the funds. There were other monks in Jerusalem that you could release the funds with. We've already spoken about this coded document, but other things made this work. The monks that vowed poverty, they had a divine obligation not to steal your funds, and a mutual understanding across geographical space. The network became so large that over decades, people started trusting them with more. Merchants move funds across border, crusaders get financed, the Templars now have branches across Europe and Levant. Secure vaults, internal ledgers, FX conversion, debt records between states. It inspired and uses the same concept of Visa, MasterCard, and all the other banking networks combined to move funds from one area to another. But we are still required to trust these guys. And the obligation this time is to the promise of the High Court of Justice. But if you fast forward to 2026, what happens if that same coded document lived on the internet? No one controlled it, we didn't necessarily have to trust anyone in particular, and a language that lives and breathes by itself communicates from one ledger to another on an order book through a mathematical framework where the only solution lies in truth, algorithmic equations on links that never break. This is the rise of stablecoins, digital assets, and tokenization, and now a coffee broker house that lives on the internet calling itself prediction markets. They are indeed strange times ahead.